Um, then
Hold
I
on.
just wanted to say I caught a cold last week, so if it's okay, I'll not be on video and I'll stay on mute so that I'm not disrupted.
Sure. I hope that's hope you feel better. Alrighty. Looks like the recording's going. So we can get started with this. Um, I'll start off. My name is Jordan Hoopert. I'm with the Oregon Public Defense Commission. I'm one of the criminal resource counsels over here. Before that, I was at the Public Defender's Office in Lane County for about 8 years. I'm going to be kind of leading this from OPDC's perspective, but I'm hoping that we can do more of a group leadership thing with this. I'd like to start out with everybody giving introductions, if we could. I think I know most of you, but just so we can get to know each other a little better, if we could give quick introductions. So the way let's do this, if it works for everybody, is if you give your introduction, once you're done, just pick the next person in line. So I will kick it over to Kevin, and we'll get the OPDC folks out of the way.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Kevin Hupy. I am a juvenile resource counsel with OPDC. I'm helping with coverage here in this group as well, and so I'm happy to be of assistance. I'll pass it to, let's say, Steve.
So I'm Steve Gorham. I've been an attorney since 1975. I helped start MCAD, the Marion County Association of Defenders. I was their executive director for 14 years, and then I had basically a death penalty contract. I was the first person to do death penalty work in Marion County after the new statute came in. I did the first death penalty case here. I'm close to retirement. I'm 74, but I'm technically an MCAD member, but I don't do any cases through them. I have 2 cases left through whatever we're calling OPDS now. So let's go to Griffin.
Yeah, my name is Griffin. I work for the Public Defender Services, Lane County Public Defender Services, and I've worked here for almost 3 years now. I do tech primarily for PDS, and then I also do legal assistant work.
Griffin, who do you want to be the next one to introduce themselves?
Sorry, Russ.
Hey, I'm Russ Breton. I own Court Discovery Management. We've been doing litigation support and technology consulting for about 15 years now in Oregon. Lindsay.
Hi, I'm Lindsay. I work at the Public Defender in Marion County as a discovery technician, and I pretty much just handle discovery that comes in from the DA and get it all organized and all that stuff.
I guess that leaves me. I am Alex Pershing. I have been a licensed investigator for 8 years now, but am currently managing a team of discovery processing specialists, as well as a few investigators up here in, well, I guess we're kind of scattered all over the place because we do a lot of remote work, but yeah, we support defense attorneys all over the state. And I believe we work with Lane County and Multnomah County PD quite a bit. So, hello, everyone.
Hey, everybody, and thanks for doing that. And thanks for being here. What we've been tasked to do is to create a set of, well, 2 things. And this, well, All right. So we're tasked to create a set of two things: qualification standards and performance measures for tech support jobs in public defense. And the reason we're doing this is relating back to what OPDC had funded a group called Moss Adams to create a 6-year plan for how to improve public defense in Oregon. And one of the things that they came up with was funding certain core staff roles, one of which being tech support. To do that, we need the legislature to give us money for it. And in order for the legislature to give us money to fund that, we need to come up with standards and qualification standards and performance standards. So the reason we're putting these work groups together is because we want the people who are doing that work now to be part of telling us how it's done, what needs they have, and what it takes to do that job, so that we can then put that together into the standards and hopefully, fingers crossed, hopefully increase the funding we're getting so that we can fund part of that work, which historically OPDC has not funded or been kind of case by case funding. Because of the timeline that we have to meet for the legislature, we're doing this on an incredibly abbreviated process. We have to get our work to the commission for their May meeting by, I think May 8th is the deadline to get that to the commission, which means the agency has set us the deadline of April 25th to get stuff ready and together. So if you're looking at a calendar, or particularly date savvy, that's about a week and a half, which is not the easiest goal to meet. But I have faith, and I think we can do it. To get there, what we'll probably want to do, and I will leave this open to discussion as to how you guys want to move forward from here, but we will probably need to come up with a draft of both documents, put some things together, and send it out for review, let you guys all take a look at it, give thoughts, give feedback, and then meet again to go over that, and maybe a third meeting to go over whatever we figure out at our second meeting. Those are my thoughts, but I'd be interested in feedback from you guys on how you want to handle that. Don't everybody jump at once.
That works fine for me. I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess we can just try to get through everything as fast as possible. And
Is there any sort of template by which other groups or our group is supposed to return the sort of metrics back to the committee?
Not really. We have we have two things that our team, the Trial Support and Development Division that Kevin and I work on, are the ones kind of helming these work groups from OPDC's perspective. And there are two things we've been looking at: the attorney qualifications that OPDC has put out, and the performance metrics for attorneys that the state bar has put out. And I can send those things around so people can look at them. But as far as templates go, I think that's about as close as we've got. Kevin, you know anything else that I don't from the other work groups you've been in?
So I think we're just looking at the standards at this stage, not the metrics themselves. So that would be just kind of guidelines as to what kind of work product we're looking at. They can be a little bit more open, a little bit more vague, and the key performance metrics will then be derived from those to determine whether people are meeting those standards. So we don't have to nail down the metrics. At least I don't believe so for this one. I am happy to throw up on the screen a draft of the performance, the qualification and performance standards that we are working on so far on our paralegal, legal assistant, legal secretary, office support staff. I can throw that real quick so that you have a brief idea of what they look like. They are in an incredibly early draft stage. We had our first session on Friday, and we were able to get a lot of good work done, but there's way more work left to do by that. So let me put that up real quick. Just as an example of what we are currently working on in that space. Where is the, yeah, here. Okay. So mostly what we got through in our session on Friday was starting to nail down qualification standards for the office support staff and legal secretary roles, and then a broad overview as to what each of those roles are and what tasks they are likely to be engaged in. I would imagine that's similar here, where we'll want to split out certain role definitions as to like discovery, clerking, if there's database or server management, things along those lines, and whatever the roles are that would be part of the public defense technical support like genre of services. Does this answer your question? Cool.
I just want to say also, I think it's helpful that my role at PDS has all of this. I just need to find like my sheet from when I got hired, but I think we can use, a good portion of it.
Cool.
Nice.
Okay, I'm gonna pull that down.
Okay, so I think I sent around, but if not, I'll put it in the chat. The screenshot from the Moss Adams report about what they're looking at, and that might give us some guide about what we need in there also. But I think Kevin's right, and I think our first task is figuring out what the definition of the role that we want, or what definition do we want the role to have. I know that there was some internal debate over whether or not this was just a discovery management thing or whether it included tech support, server support, the kind of IT stuff. But I'd be interested in what you guys think about that.
My 2 cents is that the Moss Adams report seems to be quite vague in terms of sort of like we don't really know what tech people do, and so like for example, assist with technology issues. That to me seems like like when things go wrong with your computer, we'll just call a tech guy, right? But we don't, it just seems all the other roles are extremely specific and have detailed bullets. Specifically, the paralegal legal assistant has quite a long list of very specific tasks. And then the tech support's kind of like when things go wrong, just, call a tech guy. So, or girl. I think if you leave it with discovery management alone, I think we're going to be cutting into what's described as the paralegal role, because a lot of what's listed in the Adams report, deals with, for example, discovery management, obtaining discovery, uploading and organizing, review, summarize, all those kind of things. So I don't know if we're able to grab things out of the paralegal role and move them into the tech support role, because otherwise I don't see much space for tech support alone.
So can I make a comment here?
Sure, Steve.
What we're assuming that lawyers have competency in tech, and we may need to define what competency the lawyer needs to have in tech to have the support that they may need. In other words, and maybe everybody here has used the Microsoft products or not. When I started, we didn't have computers. And then, if we wanted to have support for, some sort of tech, we needed to know what kind of tech we needed to use. And are we going to just let any lawyer who comes on as whatever they're doing in indigent defense decide what computers they're going to use, or what whether they're going to use Microsoft products, or I don't even know if WordPerfect exists anymore. So especially with tech support, we need to know what either, and I'm sorry, I'm going to use the old terms, OPDS or whatever it is now, OPDC, is going to want a lawyer to use. And frankly, one of the things I know that OPDC is going towards is time management, meaning lawyers have to keep their time. At least maybe that's not time management. So how are they going to physically do that? What system are they going to use? Are we going to force every lawyer in the state to use the same system? Now, I have some experience at that because when I was helping run MCAD, we had a time billing system that we made by one of our attorneys, and it was done using Microsoft products. It was done using Excel and Access, and we forced every attorney to use it. So are we going to be forcing every attorney in the state to use the same type of tech? I mean, I think that's one of the big issues we have to decide, because it certainly may be more efficient. But if, say, OPDC wants to know whether a Lane County attorney, say in the public defender, or a Marion County attorney in the public defender, or in a consortium, if they even have consortiums to go forth, what is the attorney going to have to be educated for, and then what the staff might have to be educated for. I'm done.
Yeah. I don't think it's within the scope of what this group is doing to talk about what systems the state is going to mandate on people, unless you guys really think we should. I mean, I can tell you that internally there's a different work group talking about how to have a unified case management and financial management system. So that work is happening. But I don't know that it's necessarily within the scope of this group to figure that out. I think what we want to talk about is if OPDS or OPDC is going to fund a tech support position, what should we require of that position in order to grant funding for it? I mean, kind of like if OPDC is going to fund an attorney position, we require that attorney to have a certain amount of qualifications met in order to take different cases. So like misdemeanors, there's a set level of qualifications. Felonies, there's a different set level of qualifications. But there are always qualifications that we can say, And we know this attorney meets X qualification standard before we're going to fund them, give money to them. And I think what we're looking for is something more along those lines than what the actual person is going to be doing. I mean, Steve, if you use WordPerfect and you need your tech support to be fluent in WordPerfect and how that works, I don't want to get too granular in what the state is telling you have to have beyond the kind of basic requirements of that. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
Can
Kevin?
you be a little bit more specific in terms of like what is it we're defining here? Is this going to be a staff member at OPDC? Is this going?
No.
So this is, sorry, go ahead, Jordan.
Oh, I was going to say it's essentially Griffin. If a PD office or a contractor wants funding for someone to do tech support, what do we require them to show before we give that funding?
And tech support more than just like my computer's broken, right? So we're looking at potentially, building systems to improve how things work within the office. This is not necessarily just for in-house, right? This can be used in theory for any provider. Typically, if it's an in-house person, I mean, what we're talking about, whether it's in-house or not, is more just what is the funding going to look like and what source is that going to be? Is it through like the normal contract, or is it CSS? That's not relevant here. Assume that funding would be granted if requested. What do we want, so long as somebody meets the qualification, and then once they've been approved, we want to have some kind of metric for, are they doing their job? In order to get to that metric, we need to know what is it that we expect those people to do. So how do we know that we should let them be hired? And on the flip side, how do we know how do they know what we are hiring them for? What are the performance standards for people who would be hired for this? And then Russ, you had a question earlier. You're absolutely right. There's a lot of stuff in that list for the paralegal. I'm not positive exactly how this chart was developed, but I know that there was a lot of input from a lot of attorneys around the state. My look at this list, there's stuff in here that, yeah, in theory, a paralegal is probably going to be a part of, but not the technical side of some of these things. Like discovery management, I wouldn't anticipate somebody with the paralegal degree necessarily being the one to put together where digital discovery is stored and ensure that there's access to all of it and ensure that it's being maintained appropriately on the technical side. What a paralegal might be instead doing is making sure that the right discovery is requested from the right sources, going out and finding discoverable sources of information elsewhere. So yeah, there's a lot of, but I would take from potentially looking at each of these roles and how will technology help support these people in those roles. That's what we want to define here. How do we determine that somebody is doing their job appropriately so that we know that that's like, what are the standards that would be involved in kind of setting the guide, like the guidelines. What do we want somebody in this role to be doing in order to adequately support those roles in their job? Does that make more sense, Russ?
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I would say that we need to define broadly, I suppose, the different areas with which they need to be, fluent and experienced. And then we can sort of detail each of those buckets out in a little bit more, clarity. I think is a starting place for me.
I think that makes sense, Russ, and I do just want to be cognizant of time because I did say this would be a half an hour meeting. It's about 5 minutes left. I'm fine if we keep going, but I wanted to make sure everybody else was too. And if not, I think we could set our next meeting and have a group or all of us take stabs at defining. I think the 3 roles we've talked about are tech support, server maintenance, and discovery maintenance. But if there's anything else we want to take initial stabs at defining, we can do that. So, anybody really need to take off?
No.
Okay. Hearing none, do we want to try to talk through what the role definition might look like?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Before we do that, I'd like to know how we're going to communicate. Are we going to communicate through emails or some other system? Or how are we going to get documents? I mean, this is another kind of tech thing. How is this committee going to communicate? I mean, I like emails better than I like texts, but and what's going to be next, so I guess I would like any documents to be sent to us all by email, but maybe you all want to send them to us in a different manner.
I think email makes sense. We have been trying to figure out how to do shared document stuff with OPDC's current level of technology and haven't quite gotten there. So I think at this point, emailing documents back and forth probably makes the most sense for everybody, but I'm open to suggestions. Does email work for everybody? Lindsay, Russ?
Yeah. Do you have any sort of like, if we're talking about a document that's being passed around or versioning, is there any either Microsoft or Google Docs or something along those lines for all of us to be working on a same doc?
Google
that
Sheets.
crazy?
Yeah.
Only if one of you who does not work for the state wants to set it up.
There's access denial
Our mighty
issues.
infrastructure has not gone that far yet.
Uh,
Yeah, I can share a Google Doc with everyone.
Okay. Steve, does that work for you?
Yeah, I do. It's one of the things I do is Google Docs.
Okay. Thank you, Griffin.
Yeah.
But even though we may use Google Docs to, edit our document so everybody can see it, it'd be nice to get it by email as well, at least the original.
Sure. Sure.
Wow.
And for any meeting times or anything else, those will also come by email.
While we were all talking here, I reached out to ChatGPT and asked it what it thought, whether it could assist us, and of course it had, I think, I asked it for 5 categories of what a tech support person might do in like a legal firm. So it said IT systems and software, data security, user support and training, issue resolution and troubleshooting, and then new technology integration. So I think those are 5 good broad categories of, and what you've mentioned, Jordan, I think everything fits into those 5 categories. I don't see like I'm missing any category.
Can you run those categories through again?
Yeah, and I could just copy this into the.
Yeah,
Or Stu.
making
But
right
yeah,
now.
it's
Send us
IT
an email.
Oh yeah, I will. I'm copying everyone's email right now.
It's IT systems and software, It's data security, user support and training, issue resolution, and then new technology integration. So I see the first
Can we all
category, IT systems and software, as being the largest lift, of course. That would be all of your, your discovery hosting, your discovery processing software. There's a huge amount of in that category. User support and issue resolution might kind of go together, but training wise, I think that might separate those two categories into distinct ones, meaning like issue resolution, when things go wrong, you lose discovery, errors, that sort of thing. But training, I think, is key for keeping things running smoothly. And recently with AI, there's just a huge amount of technology that's just entered the market, and the price point is just so low these days and fits right into criminal defense budgets. It's upending what the way that we all used to, for example, translation, transcription software, audio to text software, speech recognition. All this stuff is just upending sort of the old school way of doing things. So I think that's a key category, for saving money, honestly.
I just want to say I really agree with you. We use Justice Text for transcriptions, and it's so huge and beneficial for every attorney in the office.
I just like that the tech group is turning to AI.
With the Google Doc.
Oh, there it is. Thanks for setting that up, Griffin.
If you want, I'll add these 5 bullets into there.
Oh yeah, anyone can edit it too.
I also really dislike typing in front of people because it just displays that my spelling is terrible. All right. So what if we do this, Griffin? If you don't mind sending around the job posting you were looking at.
I could find it actually. I just emailed Brooke, asked him to send it to me.
Okay, I can bug Brooke for it too if we need to. Or Commissioner Reinhardt. And see, but if you can get that and send it around, I think that'd be helpful. If not, I mean,
I am
happy
easily describe what I do, you know, and what I think someone would need.
Okay. I think what we need to do, and I put in bold at the bottom of this, the 3 things that we need to come out of this with. I think what might be most helpful is if we can pick 1 or 2 of us to take a first pass at writing that up, and then the rest of us can edit it, and we can set another meeting for later this week to try to figure out where we are and what we need to do, if anything, from there. Does that sound good to everybody?
Yes, it's
Okay.
good.
While we're all here, do we want to try to set another meeting time, or would you guys rather a doodle poll again?
Are there people who are part of this work group who are not here today?
No, I think this is everybody.
Then yeah, setting it here is good. That's what we ran into on Friday, was there were people who weren't available on Friday. So
Lindsay's here, Russ is here, Griffin's here, Alex is here, and Steve is here. Yeah, everybody's here. Is anybody or everybody available on Thursday?
Depends on what time. I've got all morning. I have to do something else.
Okay. Early afternoon Thursday,
It's okay with me.
2 o'clock-ish.
I'm available.
Yeah.
Lindsay?
Same. I'm available too.
All right, I will get that. I'll get that email sent out for the meeting invite. Who wants to take a pass at first drafting?
I was gonna work on the role definition. Is that all right?
Okay.
And then I don't know about qualifications. I'll just stick with role definition for now, and then
experience that we had with the work group on Friday, it was much easier to kind of talk through qualifications in a group setting than
Yeah.
have one person try and draft them at the outset. So
Yeah.
I imagine that would be applicable here too.
mhm.
All right, so why don't we do that? Griffin, if you take a first draft at the role definition, send us an email when you get something up, and we can all take a look at it. Thursday, we'll plan to talk through the qualifications, and we can do some group drafting while we work on those. And then we'll do some cleanup after that. And we'll figure out what the performance standards need to look like once we have the role and the qualifications. Sound good to everybody?
Yeah.
Great.
Sounds good.
All right.
Before we end, Kevin, do you have a relative who works in Polk County?
Yeah.
That's where I'll be Thursday morning.
Ah, fair enough.
I think if she works for Polk County Court or Health or whatever it is.
Yeah, they're the treatment court coordinator for Polk County.
Yeah, that's where I'll be Thursday morning.
Cool.
All right, folks. I really, really appreciate you guys all doing this. I think this is going to be super beneficial to us as we get down the road. I think this is going to be a much better outcome than we would get if it were just, you know, Kevin and I and some folks from OPDC sitting around the table coming up with this and then telling you all that this is what we came up with. So I really appreciate you guys coming in to help work with us. And I especially really, really appreciate you doing it on this kind of truncated timetable that we're being forced to work on. So thank you all. And I'll see you all on Thursday.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Griffin, for getting it
Thank you.
started.